You seriously claimed you saw him yesterday? Hiding in a towel? Honestly, what? You literally said, just relax. It will be fast. Those were the exact words. Listen, my years of experience tell me this kid is absolutely telling the truth. Starting when she was just 4, it means I messed up for 8 long years. I regret pulling my own brother into this mess. It began last year. Yeah, I know. Speak. Pull the blankets up. No way. My entire life. For what? A child's weeping shattered the quiet of April 12th, 2022. As Clay County deputies rushed out after a 12-year-old girl completely broke down in tears, she confessed to her mom about something horrific happening hours prior, admitting this nightmare was far from an isolated incident. Once detectives arrived on the scene, the young victim revealed this dark secret spanned a massive time frame. Countless traumatic moments blurred together, but she bravely found her voice because she was absolutely exhausted and desperate for the nightmare to end. To their utter horror, the predator she named was 49-year-old Paul Mauricio, a trusted 8-year Clay County patrol cop, a 20-year Navy veteran, and sickest of all, her own stepfather. Detectives dragged him into the box where he immediately played dumb, insisting his stepdaughter was just throwing a tantrum. Yet under pressure, his perfectly crafted facade started splintering into pieces. Sitting under those harsh fluorescent lights, this supposedly honorable man slowly let slip the disgusting reality he fought so hard to conceal. Walk me through your headspace lately. Man, how are you holding up right now? Having everything hit the fan at exactly the same time is definitely overwhelming to process. Honestly, this entire mess just blindsided me today. Totally out of left field. Man, never saw any of this drama creeping up on us. Zero warning whatsoever. Anyway, when my wife shook me awake earlier today, I was literally just passed out in our bed, needed to take a leak, and suddenly the kid just wanders right into the room. I told her straight up, stay out because we're trying to sleep, and that stupid door doesn't even latch anymore. Kids constantly storm in without knocking. Then she starts whining, saying she feels totally sick. She said her throat was killing her, and her tummy ached. I figured she was faking it since she pulled that exact identical stunt last week. She tried skipping her after-school program over some petty drama. Girls being mean, bullying, whatever you want to call it. So I pressed her on it, asked if she was hiding another excuse for ditching classes, or if someone was actually picking on her physically. Wanted to know if deeper stuff was happening. She denied it completely. Fine by me. I grabbed myself some morning food instead, dropped the boy at daycare, crawled back into bed, left the house, returned at 9 o'clock. Kid was still out. Roused her to ask about food. She demanded bacon immediately. Got those sweet cinnamon bagels going while she aggressively shoved some bread straight into the toaster. Yanked that Philadelphia cream cheese container from the refrigerator shelf. Then she randomly asked me to pop the lid off. Cracked it open for her. She smeared a massive glob onto her bagel, poured myself some black coffee, crashed on the sofa, and we kicked off the morning by watching Let's Make a Deal. Flipped the channel to The Price is Right afterwards. Finally forced myself upright to tackle our tax returns. Snatched her laptop initially, but the thing lagged terribly. Tossed it aside, hunted down my official police computer, and filed everything using that machine instead. Finished the paperwork shortly past 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Decided right then I desperately needed some solid shut-eye. She mocked me, calling me an old man for needing midday rest. Whatever. Man. Crashed hard and didn't open my eyes again until exactly 4 o'clock. Drove to the child center, grabbed my little boy, headed back home. She showed up around that time. Parked the car the second my wife arrived holding dinner. Hot dogs and burgers. I was absolutely famished. Calling out to her immediately. Just stepped foot on the property myself. Barely killed the engine. Our kid was already out back chasing lizards around. So the suspect meticulously detailed his boring routine, outlining every single moment before the 12-year-old bravely exposed him to her mother. His strategy was obvious, planting seeds of doubt. desperately hoping investigators would blame the victim's shocking accusations on typical junior high drama. Detectives wisely kept quiet, letting the guy dig his own grave with his rambling. Grabbed a seat and lazily asked if the garage door needed shutting. Didn't really care. Stepping back indoors, someone was sobbing hysterically. Checked on them, asking if everything was cool. Found her crying in the back room, and I genuinely wanted to know the problem. Acted like it was nothing major. Retreated to my chair, settled in, and suddenly, this massive accusation gets dumped right on my head. You're wondering what motivated these insane lies. Honestly, a few different theories crossed my mind. First off, a massive secret dropped on Monday regarding her and some young guy she was supposedly seeing when classes first kicked off. She fell extremely hard for him early on, thought he was her ultimate soulmate, hopelessly infatuated with the kid. He utterly destroyed her heart, rejecting her completely. Kid walked through the front door, bawling her eyes out, spilling the whole dramatic story. I explicitly reminded her that 12-year-olds shouldn't have serious boyfriends anyway. We finally snapped and grabbed her cell. The girl kept dragging herself out of bed, completely exhausted for no obvious reason. Like, why always so drained, but she was totally exhausted. Turns out she was messaging this guy nonstop at 2 a.m. So the very next day after school, we completely blindsided her right at the door. Wanted to trip her up, see if she'd drop a lie or start throwing a tantrum. She played dumb immediately, going, "Who is this guy?" "Oh, just some random girl," she says, which is weird because literally every other friend has a saved name. Right, definitely a massive red flag. Eventually, we just cracked down, told her, "Yep, the phone is gone," confiscated it for about a month, or whatever the time frame was. This matched exactly what the investigators guessed right away. Paul heavily pushed this narrative about some classmate. He claimed that once she got disciplined for her bad attitude, she completely fabricated the abuse claims out of pure spite. Honestly, it is a textbook excuse that guilty parents use, except that almost never holds water in reality. Then she threatened to call the police. Honestly, 100%, the best move so they could check it out. I just told her I wasn't leaving, because I seriously had zero to hide from them. So what do you personally think caused this huge shift? You mentioned she dealt with bullies at her school, things like that. Why exactly do you feel that meeting this specific guy triggered all of this? Because we pointed out how her entire expression completely shifted the second he left. So what exactly were her actual claims? Aside from saying that you touched her inappropriately, that is literally all she said. She stepped out of the room a couple times, paced around and kept saying, "Paul, I love you, but I just have to." I said it back. Then she just hid in her bedroom. Wait, so she never actually explained the accusations to you? Nope, didn't even ask. She basically refused to look at me anyway. I just kind of crashed on the sofa waiting. Then I headed out to sit with, well, we chatted inside for a bit before going out. That's when you all arrived. It was super obvious Paul had a long background as a cop, considering how effortlessly he kept his cool without completely freaking out. Still, the guy was over-explaining everything suspiciously. This suspect just kept bragging non-stop about his so-called glorious military past and massive hero complex. But the cops, they were absolutely done playing games, fully prepared to completely demolish his fake fantasy. Honestly, the shift in dynamics here is incredibly bizarre. The lead detective immediately jumps in to confront the situation. He brings up how the squad has been interviewing relatives and digging up background info. And frankly, two extremely contradictory narratives are starting to emerge. First, you get the spotless veteran, the flawless police officer who supposedly walks on water and never made a single mistake in his entire life. Just an absolutely perfect, upstanding guy. But then, out of nowhere comes this massive, jaw-dropping curveball. We suddenly uncover this entirely separate, hidden dark side of him, packed with some seriously disturbing allegations. Now, you mentioned earlier that you had zero clue about these specific claims. Yeah, completely clueless. All right, Let me break down exactly what she actually confessed to us. To put it simply, she insists this twisted behavior is a long-standing pattern. None of this is a sudden, isolated incident. Listen, we're talking about a nightmare that started the exact second you stepped into their world. Going all the way back to when she was barely 3 or 4, it happened absolutely everywhere. Man, both the old place and here. The girl literally described these sick incidents, dozens of times. Countless specific moments of you grabbing her, feeling outside, and completely underneath her clothing, doing things to her body, making her do things to yours. And this absolute sickness continued right up until literally yesterday. Unbelievable. So right now, I am genuinely struggling to connect these horrible acts with the exact same Paul who proudly served 20 years in the Navy, the decorated deputy who gave 80 years of rock-solid service to the sheriff's department, that identical guy who just needs 5 more years until retirement and freedom, which, honestly, I completely get wanting to just pack up and finally leave, because that honorable man is completely missing from this room right now. But my decades working these dark cases prove otherwise. Deep down, you already know she isn't making this up. The cops didn't waste a single second dancing around the brutal details of what that poor girl claimed Paul did. They laid it all out, instantly making it crystal clear that his 30-minute sob story was total garbage. And honestly, they were just getting started. They went completely on the offensive. Though Paul seriously tried acting his heart out right before that, claiming she was 3. I just need to figure out why she'd make this up. I kinda hinted at this already. She just wants to be over there. That's honestly why I think she wants to leave. That is just my personal theory right now. Right or wrong. It's just how I see it, because if this supposedly happened, she hung out with her aunt down south practically forever. She stayed locked in over there for solid weeks. Plus, we literally always told her she could ask us anything. We had that exact talk constantly with everybody. Go tell a teacher. Tell the principal or whoever. Tell your aunt. Literally just go and tell somebody. Then, out of nowhere, last night happened, and then waking up this morning. Man, right. So before that morning, no way. Well, maybe previously she just saw me in pants or whatever. Cut that out right now. Seriously. Okay. How could she possibly know? Did she ever accidentally catch you? No clue, other than what I literally just said about last night when the door was cracked. It was wide open, and I thought, well, let me check. Shut it, no. But come on, you genuinely aren't sure if she actually walked in. God, I hope not. She shouldn't have any clue about what stuff you're into. Everybody basically has their own private habits for that kind of bedroom stuff. There is zero reason she'd know anything about that stuff, and absolutely no reason you'd ever drop a hint about your private habits or the specific things you enjoy doing behind closed doors. Right. All right then, let me ask this. She walks into that room and basically gives us the exact same rundown of yesterday that you did, except for one massively important detail. She shows up that morning, mentions how she immediately crashed on the bed, tells us she felt terrible and just passed out. Right, and you basically told her to head straight to school, so you head back to the house. You approach her. Then she tells you her stomach is killing her, which actually matches your story, and your response was, "Come on, we'll make this super fast." Seriously, she laid out unbelievably graphic details. Man, stuff you guys did that specific afternoon, plus things from way back. And listen to me, we aren't just talking about one isolated incident here. Honestly, she's breaking down what sounds like hundreds of separate times. Hundreds of them. God, hundreds. Paul had zero clue that the cops already grilled the victim and her mom. They specifically drilled down into his weird personal tastes. The most sickening part, the statements from both the daughter and mother lined up perfectly. Essentially identical. A 12-year-old without adult experience couldn't possibly invent those kinds of dark specifics. It left Paul completely frozen. Literally, last night was the absolute first time I heard this. So here's my theory. I've worked this job for way too long. Man, Kids will absolutely invent random garbage to avoid getting punished. Obviously they do. But nobody just invents this level of trauma from scratch without having lived through the actual nightmare. All right, look, what I'm truly trying to wrap my head around is this. Literally everybody insists you've always been a pretty fantastic father. You adore your kids. You protect them constantly. You bend over backward for the family. So when we hit a wall like this, she's either completely lying or she's being dead honest with us. Right. And dropping details so incredibly specific that she couldn't possibly fake it unless she actually lived it. I really don't know. I'll look you dead in the eye and swear it never happened, like I told you. We casually discuss boundaries at home constantly, focusing on what she's doing, supposed to be aware of. Stuff happens at her school constantly. One afternoon, she walked in, bringing up this wild conversation. I know exactly how she is. She straight up told us about her and her classmates discussing weird stuff like vibrations. And we just stared, both completely looked at each other in shock. But she wouldn't just casually make up incredibly disturbing claims about you, specifically. Seriously, her claims weren't fuzzy at all. It wasn't some generic, "oh, he touched me once," kind of basic story. Her accusations hit on terrifyingly exact details. Time dragged on relentlessly. Listen, we can sit here running in circles all day, but that kid needs actual help, so I'm completely done playing pointless games about whether it occurred or not. My only goal right now is to figure out how to help you. Look at me. I'm sitting right here with you, trying to understand something that completely turned everyone's world upside down. Yeah, permanently changed. 100%. Every single person in your family will carry the heavy weight of this terrible nightmare for the rest of their lives. Right. But to actually move past it, I need to understand the root cause behind your actions so we can guarantee nobody ever gets hurt like this again. Exactly. Keeping her safe is the absolute top priority here. Because listen, an innocent little kid just walked into this mess. It's pretty simple. If someone has a severe obsession with starting fires, would you deliberately leave a box of matches laying around their bedroom? Obviously not. Makes sense. But what exactly can you show me to prove that you won't fall right back into those dark habits? Seriously, can you honestly look me in the eye and guarantee it? She made the claims, sure, but the reality is that this kid essentially holds all the power at this point. True, but honestly, I am just completely at a loss for words here. I know the actual truth. Honestly, asking me to promise it won't repeat is entirely pointless, mostly because the whole sick thing never even happened anyway. Paul firmly stood his ground. However, the suspect was completely oblivious to the brutal reality. The investigator had irrefutable physical proof backing up the victim, ready to spring the trap. The vivid details she provided definitely weren't just some random fiction pulled off a website. These aren't vague guesses. She outlined highly precise events and deeply personal facts, including a very specific claim about crossing paths with you just yesterday. You wiped it on a bath towel. Seriously, you think I left a dirty towel in the bathroom yesterday? Wait, did your team actually go snooping around my house looking for laundry? Yeah, we did. All right. That brown one, the piece of cloth that apparently triggered a positive test. Yeah, I used that thing for personal reasons like 7 days ago. It was just sitting dry in the laundry basket. Wait, did you actually find my stuff on it? We certainly did. How could she possibly know? Look, the kid was literally sitting in class. Whenever I take care of personal business, I make completely sure the house is entirely empty while everyone else is out learning. Understood. But how exactly did that information end up in her head? Honestly, I haven't got the slightest clue. It is physically impossible for there to be anything remotely fresh left over on that fabric. That stain is ancient history because I remember exactly when it happened. We're talking about the ugly brown washcloth, covered in those weird little square patterns. How did she figure it out? No clue. That thing was buried at the bottom of my laundry basket for 4 or 5 solid days. Right at this exact moment, the suspect's confident, untouchable facade completely shattered into pieces. Cornered by rock-solid forensic proof, his vocal tone suddenly spiked higher while awkward. Frantic giggles started slipping out. Classic behavioral tics of a liar. How could the kid describe a situation that absolutely never took place? I am swearing to you right now, none of this is real. She never watched me, mainly because the entire building was totally deserted during my private time. So, you're telling me she randomly invented a wild fantasy that miraculously lined up with the actual physical evidence? Yeah. Why the hell couldn't she? What are the odds? Jesus Christ. Look, I keep saying that nasty cloth was literally used 7 days ago. She was totally normal today. Tell me, why would a young kid randomly invent such an awful lie? Hell, if I know why, I really cannot answer that at all. But her throwing out that incredibly specific detail definitely gives those wild claims some real weight. Then you take a step back and start really examining every single other detail the kid laid out. Turns out, a massive chunk of her terrifying narrative actually holds water perfectly. The kid painted an extremely graphic picture of the entire timeline, describing the back and forth progression of the abuse from simple groping to making her do things to you, rubbing against her, while explicitly clarifying that full physical penetration absolutely never occurred once. So that's her exact story. The investigator. You could actually see the exact second Paul's walls crumbled. He was totally done. Look, if I actually admit to all this stuff, shoot 11 times. Whatever. What's next? What exactly happens to me now? Look, I genuinely want to cooperate with you. Man, I do, but how can I just throw my life away? Prison absolutely terrifies me. That ruins my life. Look, I get it, but I'm really not just here to throw another guy behind bars. Listen to me. Paul, I've been working these kinds of cases for decades. Locking people up isn't my ultimate goal here. I want to understand this, especially since you claim you're a good dad. I've always tried to be a solid father. I genuinely never doubted your intentions there. You're sitting in that chair swearing you love your children. Right. I gave them everything. I'd die for them. Seriously. Your girls desperately need support now. But how on earth can I protect them if I'm locked away? Because right now, they cannot have another adult calling them liars. You actually need to step up for them. Kids only get one father. Yeah, but they're literally calling me a monster, so suddenly I'm just the bad guy, not their dad anymore. Nobody wants to look at their father like that. I wouldn't want a dad like that either. Right now, I'm completely alone. I've got absolutely nobody left. If I get sent away for God knows how long, I'll be completely isolated again. My oldest kids won't even look at me. And my daughter down in Tampa wants nothing to do with me. Let me guarantee you one thing. Just listen to me. Okay, if you keep sitting there calling them crazy, and you absolutely refuse to break this toxic cycle of denial right now, the horrible reality is that 30 years from now, your kids will end up in the exact same miserable position. Is that really what you want? Absolutely not. Because you love them. I know you're a caring dad. Clearly, I'm terrible. No, you aren't. Honestly, you just messed up. Since she was 4 years old, I messed up for 8 whole years. A massive, unforgivable mistake. Here's the harsh truth. Paul, so what happens now? You simply can't rewrite history. There's absolutely nothing you can do to magically erase what already happened. But the one thing you actually control is deciding exactly how the rest of this story plays out. That choice falls completely on your shoulders. I realize that, but my heart is shattered. Yeah, my heart breaks for you too. Please, just forget about me. Look, man, whatever happens right now, I'm completely numb to my own sick actions. Listen, guys, I was just surviving. You tried that stupid leg trick on me, so back off completely. Honestly, that specific comment caught my attention. The guy actually called out the exact knee tap trick those investigators pull. You know the drill. A cop gently pats a suspect's knee to fake empathy and squeeze out a quick confession. But even seeing through their game, the guy was an absolute wreck and totally shattered under the pressure anyway. He cracked wide open right then, just absolutely stunning the cops with his bizarre delivery. Look, We need the whole ugly truth laid bare, so we can finally figure this mess out. Give the victims that basic respect. They absolutely earned that closure. Do better. I swear to God, it only happened yesterday. That was literally the one single incident. When I returned, she followed me. Wait. She claimed she was 4 years old. Hell no. I swear on my life, that never ever occurred. Walk me through yesterday. Well, I drove my boy to grab pastries and just headed home. She casually stretched out beside me, just rested right there, and began pressing her spine against my chest. So I was flat down, and she practically curled up flush against my torso. Wait, so you two were resting flat, facing the exact same direction, except her body was draped over yours, wasn't it? Then he started spilling his warped version of the afternoon, massively downplaying the horror compared to the traumatized little girl's exact memories. 15 minutes of fake detective empathy later, he admitted everything. Thank God that amazing kid actually found the guts to come forward. Look, that child is telling the absolute truth. Sure, maybe a tiny detail or two got mixed up, but her core story is painfully real. There is absolutely zero chance this sick stuff only started happening just 24 hours ago. Do not dare strip her of that victory. She risked everything to talk. Step up and act like a real man today. Just be honest, oh God. I ruined my family. Fine. Yesterday wasn't the only time. Not even close. This nightmare lasted 12 whole months. I swear on everything. Over a year of this garbage. Yeah, I deserve the cuffs now. Slap the cuffs on. Unbelievable. What a twisted reality. None of this started when she was a kid. Okay, that's just the truth. Honestly, it kicked off last year, and it just became this twisted once-a-month habit. A monthly habit. Holisten man. You know, this is your moment to finally step up and make things right. Do the absolute right thing for her. Do it for your whole family. Yeah, I just can't even wrap my head around the fallout. This, right here, it's ground zero. Today is the absolute hurricane. You're in the hurricane right now. Sure. But the worst is almost over. You just have to push through the hardest part. At least you owned it. But man, did I seriously just nuke my entire life out of orbit for a quick thrill? They told him it wasn't his fault, just a cruel casualty of life. Let me be entirely real with you here. We all face our own personal demons. Listen, guys, I mean it. Maybe the rest of us didn't completely fall apart like this. Honestly, no matter what I thought I knew, it's just pure hell. An absolute, total living nightmare. By February 2023, former Clay County deputy and Navy vet Paul Mauricio pled guilty. He admitted to disturbing behavior with a minor, plus 3 counts of custodial battery. He caught a brutal 25-year sentence in state prison for those exact crimes. This story delivers a deeply important message about trust, courage, and the responsibility adults carry toward children. At its core, it reminds us that trust is something sacred, especially when it exists within a family. When that trust is broken, the damage goes far beyond one moment. It can shape a child's entire life. That is why integrity matters, even when no one is watching. The choices we make in private define who we truly are. It also highlights the incredible courage it takes to speak up, for a young person to share painful truth, despite fear and confusion, is an act of strength. This teaches us to always listen carefully, take concerns seriously, and create safe spaces where people feel heard and protected. Another key lesson is accountability. No matter how long someone tries to deny or hide their actions, the truth has a way of coming forward. Accepting responsibility is not easy, but it is the first step toward preventing further harm and acknowledging the pain caused. In the end, this story urges us to protect the vulnerable, act with honesty, and never ignore signs that something is wrong. One voice, when brave enough to speak, can break years of silence, and that voice deserves to be believed